got some thoughts when it comes to the reform over coming months and even in the short term when we're looking at workplace relations flexibility?
Yes, so the first of the government's reforms they're going to try to push through is IR reform. What the government is working on or trying to get unions agreement on is the industrial relations component of JobKeeper 2.0. We saw that announced Tuesday. Basically, under the first version of JobKeeper, employers were able to force employees to reduce their hours for the $750 a week subsidy since the employer was struggling to make ends meet. Now for JobKeeper 2.0, with a tougher test in place to qualify, a requirement that businesses must show their turnover is down 30% over 2 quarters, the government wants to allow businesses which were on JobKeeper 1.0 but are dropping off it to be allowed to keep their staff part-time if they wish. This is likely to cause some consternation in Labor, who may well want to oppose it in the Senate. The government argument is for those businesses who've coming off JobKeeper because they don't qualify now but they're still vulnerable, for them to be forced to put all their workers back on 38 hours a week where they were pre-crisis could put them out of business. Now, the government is considering a test to ensure those businesses whose turnover is actually up from last year, who haven't suffered that much after JobKeeper, could not keep such IR arrangements in place, but strikes as the next battleground, Kieran. We saw this week that deficit of $184.5 billion announced for 2020-21, and that looks a little optimistic, believe it or not. Here are some interesting lines from the economic update, right? So it says, even where infection rates appear to have been controlled, further outbreaks such as those experienced in Victoria could set recovery back at any time. Further outbreaks and cautionary behaviour of businesses and households threaten the outlook both in Australia and globally. It warned of risks in credit tightening and financial instability because of substantially increased global debt and economic scarring, partly caused by persistently high unemployment. All pretty scary stuff. On tax reform, Josh Frydenberg this week, again not ruling out broadening the GST or seeking to in an interview with you, Kieran, on Thursday, but putting some of the reason why it might not be possible on the states.
I'm not about to kickstart that debate, and as you would know, Dominic is one state, and there are other states who said they don't support that change. So the states aren't even in agreement about getting more revenue from a tax that they collect everything. We collect it and they get everything from it.
I'm told in terms of doing this, Kieran, there are difficulties with the states. Queensland going to an election this year, WA next year. South Australian Liberals campaigned at the last election against a GST increase, but ultimately they might be mugged by the reality of their debt and decline in revenues and how to pay it all back. Also in that economic update, it said the JobKeeper payment has supported businesses to stay open and survive. There has been no evidence of widespread business closures during the COVID-19 pandemic. But what happens when you take 2 million workers off JobKeeper and reduce the spend from $70 billion over 6 months to $15 billion over the next 6 months, Kieran?
Indeed.